From emptiness, a single breath stirred the sleeping stars.
Pangu rose, lifting sky from soil, birthing the shape of all things. His bones became peaks. His breath became the endless winds. From the dust of gods, the pulse of life began to whisper.
She shaped mankind from clay, with tears that shimmered like rain.
From her touch, fragile hearts began to dream. Chaos returned as the sky fell and oceans rose in fury.
She sealed the heavens with light, and peace returned to earth.
From the breath of gods came the rhythm of ages. Humanity learned to remember, and memory became their fire.
When the earth trembled, destiny called for a ruler of men.
Huangdi rose, not to conquer, but to unite the scattered light.
The clash of tribes became the forging of a nation's soul. From blood and storm, the first harmony was born. Knowledge became his crown, and wisdom his sword.
The heavens spoke in light, and China began to listen.
Music rose from the earth, weaving spirit and soil together. From toil and dream, civilization found its breath.
The river carried memory, and memory became history. Thus began the story of a people who turned time into light. Where rivers remember the gods, mankind begins to build.
From clay and courage, a dwelling for dreams arose.
The flame became a teacher, and bronze its shining script.
Silk whispered the promise of beauty in every motion.
Words were born from fire, so that memory could live forever.
The earth raged again, testing the will of its children.
He fought not to stop the river, but to guide its heart. From his patience, the world learned harmony with the wild.
Order rose from flood, and the first kingdom was named Xia.
In his hands, the rivers bowed, and men found peace.
Ritual became language. Rhythm became faith.
Art became prayer, and metal remembered the divine.
Knowledge spread like dawn, quiet, golden, unstoppable.
Civilization took form, breathing with the heartbeat of the soil.
Joy became the sound of unity beneath one sky.
When power forgot its purpose, shadows crept into the light.
Luxury became blindness, and arrogance the end of peace. From ruin, destiny stirred once more. Justice marched in thunder, and the dragon banners rose again. In chaos, a new name for heaven's will was spoken. Yet, Shang, power returned to virtue, and the gods breathed again.
From ashes, order returned, carved in bronze and bone.
A future was written in fire, red in the veins of stone. The heavens spoke in fragments, and man learned to listen.
Prosperity shimmered, woven between faith and labor.
Beauty became law, and symmetry its sacred tongue.
The capital rose, shining like a mirror to heaven.
The living spoke to the dead, and time became one breath.
Power hardened like metal, unyielding yet fragile beneath heaven's gaze.
Speed became might, and conquest became language.
Hierarchy took root, balancing faith and fear.
Rituals became theater, where gods watched through fire.
In devotion and dread, man sought the favor of heaven.
Every answer fed the endless hunger for certainty.
Writing became Destiny's mirror, and silence its ink.
The kingdom's pulse beat with fire and hammer.
Even in glory, fear whispered of the fall to come. Greatness, once sung, now echoes in hollow stones.
When kings forget heaven, the heavens remember wrath.
The right to rule is light on. Once lost, never truly regained. Empires end, but the river still flows.
From endings, beginnings quietly bloom again. Thus from flood and fire, China found its first memory.
Even ashes remember the warmth that once was glory. From fragments of fire, the seeds of renewal stirred.
When gods grew silent, men began to listen to themselves.
Nature endured, patient as the breath between empires.
Unity began again, not from conquest, but from memory.
Knowledge returns like tide, leaving patterns for those who wait.
A new sound rose, the call of order after storm. Destiny found new riders beneath the western sky. Heaven chose not by birth, but by virtue and will.
When tyrants fell, the sky itself seemed to breathe.
From conquered night, the mandate of heaven was born.
Law took shape, sung softly through ritual and reason. Words became the empire's spine, unbroken across centuries.
From stability grew prosperity, the gentle rhythm of peace.
Memory became inheritance, a nation's unseen thread.
Heaven and earth met each dawn in the smoke of devotion.
Faith was architecture, built from reverence and awe.
Discipline became the first step toward grace.
Craft became scripture, each curve a silent hymn.
Beauty carried meaning, an offering to time itself.
Order lived not in power, but in the rhythm of respect. Peace extended like dawn, soft yet radiant.
The heavens wrote in silence, and man began to read.
From learning came light, a humble, endless flame. Labor sang, shaping destiny from molten dreams.
Words could wound or heal. Both were instruments of rule. Poetry became the breath between heart and empire.
The city stood like an echo of heaven upon earth.
Rhythm replaced war, and peace found its music.
The stars became teachers, silent and infinite. Abundance whispered gratitude Brafyang, the song of civilization.
Yet every light casts a shadow, waiting to awaken.
Feudal and power began their eternal dance.
To rule is to serve. To serve is to remember heaven. The heart of a people beats between the lines of verse.
In calm flight, the spirit of China found its form. The past watched kindly, yet warned in silence.
Power fragmented, and order began to fray.
The dream of unity trembled, but did not die.
Wisdom travels where peace cannot.
In chaos, philosophy was born, the light within the storm.
He saw that silence itself could teach the world.
Reverence became revelation, the renewal of the human heart.
Morality took root like bamboo, bending but unbroken.
Language became destiny, shaping thought and time alike. Spirit and soil united in one eternal breath.
Truth walks quietly, needing no throne.
Glory passed, but its echoes still sang in stone.
Change arrived, sharp and inevitable.
Commerce became conversation, the lifeblood of survival.
Every war begins with love and ends with longing.
The puzzle of unity scattered across the horizon.
Creation and destruction share the same spark. Thought became battlefield, and peace its prize. The right to rule was no longer birth, but balance.
Empires fade, but ideas bloom forever.
Time flows, carrying the wisdom of all who dared to dream. Even darkness hums with the promise of dawn.
Between heaven and earth lies the path of man.
Harmony lingers longest when the world is quiet. A civilization learns that all are threads of one weave.
Legacy is not power, but remembrance carried forward. Each name lost becomes another story, waiting to rise. The earth opens its eyes to a new age of kings.
From rhythm and reason, the heart of China beat anew.
The stars looked down, waiting for unity to return.
And so, beneath the same heaven, a single empire began to dream.
In the calm between empires, heaven taught through silence. Wisdom grew not from conquest, but from reverence. To rule by virtue was to mirror the order of heaven. Ritual was harmony, shaping the rhythm of the world. Gratitude bound the earth to its people, and the people to time.
Faith whispered quietly in every gesture of survival.
Thought became the softest weapon, sharper than any blade.
To do nothing, he said, was to let all things be done.
He sought order in the heart, not the sword.
Ren, Li, Ren, Li.
Virtue became structure, and kindness became law.
Even the simplest heart could echo eternity. The sage who left not in silence, but in understanding. Words as soft as wind became eternal stone. Music taught what speech could not contain. Harmony shaped the land, geometry born of patience. Beauty and order, the twin pillars of civilization. He sought the mandate not in stars, but in justice. Even heaven's order trembles when men forget virtue. Faith cracked like porcelain beneath ambition's hand.
The first echo of division reached the heart of China. The past became burden and torch alike. From ruin, resilience wrote a new chapter.
Unity gave way to multitude, each dreaming of heaven. Prosperity danced, delicate as the flame it fed. Diversity became strength, color within the storm.
The road of trade became the road of stories. Technology whispered evolution through the hands of labor. Honor and fear slept side by side beneath the stars.
Intelligence became armor with the new weapon.
Mysticism still lingered where the forest met the sky.
Communication became the pulse of survival. The age of harmony began to rust beneath ambition.
Unity flickered, brief, fragile, bright.
Peace now spoke in whispers, war in commands.
The dream of virtue drowned in the roar of conquest.
Civilization endures, even when its walls do not.
Exile is the birthplace of clarity.
He saw all men as brothers beneath the same heaven.
Order through fear converting a blade sharper than justice.
The 100 schools flourished, each reflecting truth's shard.
Between dream and waking, Freedom found its wings.
The Tao is no path, yet it leads all journeys.
His words became rivers, carving the soul of nations.
The people are the roots, the ruler, their reflection.
Wisdom multiplied, yet unity faded.
Fear built its monuments higher than faith.
Boundaries whispered the limits of trust.
Art remembered what power tried to forget.
Patriotism became poetry, and exile its ink. When truth was ignored, it chose to drown as legend.
Quinn watched, patient, in the shadows of chaos.
Order returned, not in peace, but in precision.
Innovation became the new form of faith. The world widened. Horizons became promises. The mandate trembled, yet did not break.
A single flame shall consume the age of lords.
Rumors spread like rivers before a storm.
History rearranged its pieces, preparing for unison.
Determination replaced mercy. Destiny sharpened its edge. The dragon had awakened, its roar the sound of empire. The message was clear. Divide no more. The age of many crowns bowed to one.
The first era ended where the dream began.
From death's horizon rose the empire of dawn.
One man, one vision, one unyielding will.
The world turned beneath his ambition's fire.
Creation and conquest now shared the same forge. The empire dreamed in lines of stone. Unity, once myth, took its first breath.
Heaven smiled once more, for now. To bind a nation, even the earth was commanded to move.
Knowledge paid the price for order's dream.
Stone became silence, holding back the night. He saw a single horizon and claimed it all.
Even in death, he sought to command eternity.
Immortality was built, one sculpted breath at a time.
No empire can outlive the storm it creates.
In darkness, legacy waited like a sleeping god. Fire returns, where tyranny forgets balance.
The cycle of rise and fall turned once again.
From ruin grows renewal, Yekahiri, the constant truth of China.
What unites by fear cannot endure by faith.
The soil, not the throne, was the true heart of the nation.
From chaos, balance prepared to return.
Heaven speaks in light, when words are no longer enough.
Power reborn, tempered by memory's flame.
Mercy returned, and wisdom found its voice again.
A new dynasty, the age of harmony, reborn.
Prosperity hung through the veins of the land.
Reflection became revelation, the self within history.
The stars once again guided the hands of men.
The Empire's breath stretched across the world.
Imagination became the new form of faith. Civilization glowed, vast and living.
Expansion became expression. Empire as destiny.
Curiosity carried the banner farther than conquest.
Faith transformed from fear to wonder.
Thought again became the soul of governance.
The Empire's promise sealed in flame and ink.
From chaos came cosmos, from men, meaning. Harmony returned, quiet as a seed in spring.
The word found wings beyond bronze and stone.
Art remembered what history could not contain. Protection became patience, the watch of centuries.
To rule justly was to understand distance. Wisdom reclaimed its place beside power.
Discovery followed trade, and wonder followed both.
Harmony between heaven and man once more took root.
Beauty endured, the unspoken proof of peace.
Even shadows became lessons in light.
Civilization slept beneath stars it had begun to name.
Joy became the quiet anthem of endurance.
The Empire believed, and thus became eternal.
Peace is not the end, and trained, it is the beginning again.
Feven reflected the land reflected the soul. Time itself bowed to the will of continuity.
History hummed, waiting for its next awakening.
From dynasty to dynasty, light never truly fades. The land remembered every empire, every dream.
Thus ends the age of heaven's mandate, and begins the empire of men. From unity's fire rose the empire of the dragon. Silence bowed before the rhythm of destiny.
One vision, one law, one unyielding sky. Power moved not by mercy, but by precision. The world bent to the will of unification.
Stone rose like a hymn against the northern wind.
The empire dreamed in geometry bios, order made visible.
Knowledge was silenced, but memory whispered underground.
Truth survives, even when spoken through silence.
Even power cannot command the desert.
In his quest to live forever, he forgot to rest.
The heavens reclaim what man would hoard.
The dragon closed its eyes, passing, but not forever.
From tyranny's ruin, freedom's spark took flame.
Those who tilled the soil now rewrote the sky. Empires end not in silence, but in thunder.
From peasant to emperor, destiny wears humble robes. The last duel of ambition, two suns on one horizon.
Victory whispered the name Han into history's ear. A new dynasty rose, tempered by the lessons of ruin. Power born from suffering bows first to heaven. Prosperity returned, soft as the rhythm of breath.
Creation became prayer. Architecture became memory.
Reflection itself became a form of worship.
Thought gained wings that time could not destroy.
Words became boats, carrying hearts beyond centuries.
Heaven unfolded its map to mortal eyes.
The empire exhaled, and the world inhaled its dream.
Every thread carried the promise of connection.
Faith traveled farther than any sword.
Architecture began to echo the curve of the heavens.
Myth became mirror, a culture's living pulse. Harmony between wisdom and will shaped the state.
Boundaries became breathing, protecting, yet porous.
The sea became a road without walls.
Language bridged souls before it bridged empires.
Civilizations sang, not of kings, but of continuance.
Beauty became order, and order became peace.
Symbols of eternity pressed into mortal hands.
His gaze carried empire farther than any army.
Expansion was victory's shadow and ambition's cost.
Distance dissolved into dialogue.
Luxury glittered, yet wisdom still guided its hand.
Glory bloomed and faded in the same breath.
Stone learned compassion, eternal and still.
Philosophy became the garden where nations grew. Even power fears the weight of time.
Politics danced in shadows lit by heaven.
The empire's true strength slept in its simplicity.
Stillness carried more wisdom than decree.
Authority sealed itself in ritual, not wrath.
In the hush between verses, China breathed.
Knowledge passed through love before it became law.
Writing turned silence into permanence. Sound itself remembered the shape of heaven. To chart the sky was to mirror the soul.
Majesty breathed through artistry, not fear.
Stillness thawed the distance between man and eternity.
The world came not as conquerors, but as witnesses.
Beauty spoke in every language before words were born.
The ocean learned the rhythm of civilization.
Commerce became communion beneath the stars.
To rule was to bear the weight of endless distance.
History itself became an empire of ink.
Truth, once written, cannot be unmade.
Memory became the only crown that never fades.
The capital breathed, alive with 10,000 voices. Imagination was freedom disguised as play.
Faith became endurance, written in ink.
Silence remembered the passage of the world.
Even Glary must learn to let go.
Mortality crowns even the mightiest of men. Death was not the end, but the return to order.
History exhaled, weary yet unbroken. The earth forever demands renewal. Chaos, too, is a teacher.
Creation persisted, even amid ruin.
Knowledge hid like a seed, awaiting spring.
Every ending hums with the note of rebirth.
Empires sleep, but memory never does. The dragon dreams beneath a blanket of frost.
Time repeats, yet never repeats itself the same.
Connection endured where crowns could not. Nature outlives the arrogance of kings.
Peace lingers longest in places without power.
Thought, reborn, kindled the dawn anew.
Every child who learns becomes the empire reborn.
The soil forgives before history does.
From the ashes of dynasties, light begins again. The spirit of the dragon still watches from the wind.
And so the empire dreamed once more, in color and song.
When unity shattered, heroes rose from the dust of legend.
Strategy was his scripture, patience his blade. Even flames bowed before the wind of wisdom.
Courage roared, even as kingdoms drowned in pride.
Victory tastes bitter when loyalty burns away.
History became theater. Valor preserved in ink and dream.
After chaos, the soil remembered peace.
From ruin, faith rose like mist from morning rivers.
Belief began again, small as a trembling flame.
The wind carried whispers of invasion once more.
Stone remembered what men forgot.
Empires fall not by strength, but by exhaustion.
When paper burned, stone became scripture. Civilization retreated, but its light never dimmed. Exile gave birth to beauty that conquest could not touch.
Memory floated, refusing to drown. He sought to stitch the empire together with water and stone. Connection returned, gleaming like liquid gold.
The land exhaled in tales. One breath, one bard, once more.
The word renewal found its voice again.
Vanity can build bridges and drown beneath them.
Every empire forgets that endurance is born of mercy.
Amid ruin, a phoenix stirred its wings.
Destiny smiled upon the house that carried heaven's rhythm.
A new dawn broke, radiant as revelation. The empire awoke, reborn in art, song, and science.
The world gathered once more at China's gate.
And thus began the Golden Age, when civilization learned to sing.
The dawn of Tang rose like music across the earth.
Civilization sang. Harmony became its crown.
Leadership was not conquest, but understanding. Poetry became the voice of heaven through mortal breath.
The moon drinks with me.
Compassion became ink, recording both beauty and grief.
Words raised temples higher than any stone.
The world's heart beat along this thread of gold.
The empire opened its gates to every voice of earth.
Faith traveled not to divide, but to blend.
Stone became scripture. Color became eternity.
Art became memory's way of breathing. From minerals, the soul found color.
Commerce was melody, and wealth a rhythm of trust.
Freedom wore grace like silk in the wind.
Knowledge stretched its hands to the heavens.
Time itself bowed to human curiosity.
Rivers became arteries of light and life.
Diplomacy wore the face of love and duty.
Every fabric carried the breath of civilizations.
The empire's pulse beat in rhythm with the world.
Perfection became patience molded by fire. Beauty and empire shared one fragile heart.
When beauty forgets balance, peace brings its mirror.
Glory turns to ash, and history sighs again.
Culture survived by walking barefoot through ruin.
Faith alone stood unburned.
Nature continues her poem, where man leaves silence.
Forgiveness is the melody that rebuilds empires.
Joy is rebellion against despair.
Knowledge resurrects itself quietly.
Simplicity became the final truth of art.
From ruin to radiance, the Tang lived twice. The world still turned toward China's light.
Stars remained faithful when kings did not.
Change whispered its arrival. The song had begun.
The age of refinement dawned upon the waters. Ideas multiplied faster than empires could fade.
Trust itself became a currency of imagination.
Landscape became philosophy, emptiness, truth.
Simplicity hid the depth of centuries.
Serenity became an art, one sip at a time.
Civilization glowed softly, confident and free.
Music turns solitude into beauty.
Curiosity built miracles from metal.
Precision became poetry written in measure.
The spirit of China learned balance through difference.
The quest for immortality birthed fire eternal.
Discovery was patience, guided by wonder.
Merit, not birth, became the ladder to destiny. Education became the empire's heartbeat. Clay became moonlight, made tangible.
The sea became the empire's new horizon.
The unseen north became the guide for all journeys.
Urban grace became the empire's masterpiece.
Words carried the fragrance of water and time.
When kings became artists, the nation breathed art.
Craftsmanship became meditation, made visible.
Dreams took shape in firelight, rising toward the stars. Compassion endured fey, the ink of the human heart.
Vigilance hummed softly beneath serenity. Curiosity lit the fuse of tomorrow.
Light became celebration, not conquest.
Friendship became philosophy's gentlest form.
Stillness became structure. Balance became prayer.
Longevity and grace danced upon silk. Each sound was both beginning and ending. Beauty became his kingdom poem, delicate, eternal, doomed.
The wind of change blew colder than ever before.
Glory surrendered, but grace refused to die.
The river carried more than bodies. It carried memory.
Exile became rebirth upon gentler waters.
Creativity blooms wherever resilience plants its roots.
Beauty migrated,
and the soul followed. Knowledge sought permanence in the face of loss.
Song became solace, a melody for the disinherited.
Fragility learned how to endure.
Nature consoled what politics destroyed.
Even in retreat, the light of civilization burned steady.
The sea remembered the courage of land. Discovery whispered, "The world is round and waiting."
Infinity itself became their brushstroke.
The world spoke in trade before it spoke in words.
Curiosity, the quiet architect of destiny.
Light became the soul's celebration of survival.
Imagination rebuilt heaven in human form.
Joy declared itself louder than sorrow.
The spirit of balance endured every storm. The stars dimmed. The dragon braced for shadow. Beauty fled before conquest, yet left its echo behind. The memory of brilliance, a constellation across time. We were light, and we remain. Civilization never ends. It transforms. Silk, song, and stars. The eternal trinity of light.
Thus ended the Golden Age, but not its glow.
The wind of the steppe carried a storm no wall could halt.
The world of song and silk trembled before the tempest. Even courage must bow when history exhales.
Innocence fled across the waves, carrying a kingdom's sorrow. The sea closed its eyes, keeping the secret of loss.
Empires fall not in noise, but in memory. The world bowed beneath the hooves of unending ambition.
Conquest spoke many tongues, but no single truth.
Knowledge became the quiet survivor beneath power. The world gathered in one heartbeat of empire. Wisdom crossed borders where armies could not.
The West arrived not with weapons, but with wonder. For a moment, the storm learned stillness. Power's feast always leaves the poor in hunger. From despair as ashes, the ember of hope returned.
Faith became fury, and destiny took human form!
The dragon stirred again, breathing fire through ruin. From rebellion was born renewal, bright as dawn.
The sound of hammers became the hymn of rebirth.
Architecture once more began prayer made visible. Fragility perfected itself into immortality.
Knowledge returned home from centuries of wandering.
Art became witness to stability reborn.
The ocean no longer frightened, it invited.
China stretched its arms toward the edge of the world. Exploration became the new form of empire.
The horizon had finally met its reflection. Curiosity rewrote the borders of imagination.
Discovery was peace, carried upon salt and faith. Even the sea bowed before the will to know.
The world, once infinite, now fit within a hand.
Light itself became the empire's signature.
Peace returned, glowing with the humility of wisdom.
The dragon slept again, wrapped in silk and stars. Thus ended the golden age of harmony, and began the age of shadow and fire. The Empire of Fire rose from silence once more.
Strength returned, tempered by memorial's scars.
Knowledge became law, itinhasria, sacred, severe, divine.
He dreamed not of walls, but of worlds unseen.
Architecture became the geometry of heaven on earth.
Creation thundered louder than conquest.
Faith sealed the empire's heart in sacred rhythm.
The ocean bowed before the empire's curiosity. Wonder returned to the Middle Kingdom Khafrali, the world in reflection.
Celebration shimmered like eternity, remembered.
Thought expanded as far as the heavens would allow.
The universe itself bowed to precision. The Earth's bones melted into art and immortality. Beauty became the empire's quiet defense against time.
Imagination bloomed where fear once stood.
Prosperity glowed like endless dawn.
Stability breathed through every field and prayer. Heritage passed hand to hand, light to light.
The world returned with questions, not conquest.
Dialogue bridged the gulf between faiths and stars.
Curiosity conquered where armies could not.
The land itself was the empire's longest poem.
Wisdom spoke many tongues, yet one truth. The spirit of harmony still endured between dynasties.
Where abundance reigns, caution often sleeps.
Beneath brilliance, storms gather unseen.
Vigilance froze beneath the weight of peace.
Pride replaced purpose time. Decay disguised as order.
Nature remembers what rulers ignore.
Justice, denied too long, returned in flame.
Empires crumble, first in thunder, then in whispers. He watched dawn one final time, knowing it was not for him.
Even in despair, dignity bowed only to heaven.
Power left its palace, and sorrow took its place.
From the north, a new dynasty whispered its name.
The dragon changed its robe, but not its spirit. Conquest blended into governance, and time obeyed. Beauty endured longer than blood.
Tradition met science in uneasy grace.
Power learned again to listen.
The empire read both heaven and earth. Creation rekindled its ancient flame.
Renewal always begins with soil.
Words healed faster than empires.
Civilization hummed Rhine, the rhythm of endurance.
Splendor without empathy becomes shadow.
The world returned again, carrying both gifts and greed.
Time itself became the emperor's quiet tutor.
Two worlds touched, neither unchanged.
The empire slept beneath the hush of centuries.
Life continued, humble and immortal.
Power softened when clothed in reflection.
Endurance, carved in stone, dreamed of peace. Memory forgave what history could not.
The empire reached its zenith, shimmering like eternity's breath.
Heritage became an empire's reflection of itself.
Beauty dazzled, blinding even the wise.
Beneath gold roofs, the earth cried in silence.
Splendor without soul dims into shadow.
Wisdom unheard becomes prophecy.
The sea returned, this time bearing thunder. The new invaders carried smoke instead of swords. Poison replaced poetry in the veins of empire.
Pride shattered faster than porcelain.
Fire returned, not as renewal, but as reckoning.
Dignity traded for delay, disarmed. A wound disguised as peace.
Revolution whispered again beneath heaven's silence.
Faith turned to fury in the crucible of hunger.
Chaos returned, wearing heaven's name. The empire bled into its own reflection. The Middle Kingdom became the world's mirror of loss.
Beauty became ash, and ash became silence.
Power hid behind porcelain stillness.
Learning survived where kingdoms could not. East and West met again, Mepidi, this time in classrooms, not courts.
The machine replaced the myth.
The empire's voice traveled faster than prayer.
Hope brewed quietly, strong as midnight.
The dragon no longer slept. It dreamed of rebirth. The age of emperors waned beneath the weight of dawn. History turned its page with a sigh of stars.
Life persists where politics fail.
Change walked in quietly, barefoot and inevitable.
Even heaven must pass its crown to time.
Revolution was no longer rumor. It was sunrise.
The old century cracked open to let the light in.
The empire bowed one last time, with quiet grace.
Power dissolved back into fabric and legend.
The age of dynasties ended, but China did not.
The modern world began with the same light as the first.
From ashes, industry learned how to sing.
Youth carried the fire their ancestors once feared.
The pen once more challenged the sword.
Tradition bowed, but did not break.
The dream of unity glimmered again in humble hearts.
Identity endured, clothed in change.
The old met the new. All sockets. Neither surrendered. The fusion of worlds became the seed of renewal.
Thus ended the empire of fire, and began the struggle for light.
The dragon stirred, unsure if it dreamed of past or future.
Iron replaced incense as progress met belief.
Voices began to travel, faster than hearts could follow.
Youth found its courage in the cracks of history!
Freedom found new faces, fierce and unafraid.
The idea of a nation awoke from a 1,000-year dream.
Power folded itself into memory. A new light rose, fragile as it was bright.
Hope beat louder than fear for the first time.
The future bowed politely to the past.
Symbols changed, but the soul remained. Heaven itself seemed closer now, yet colder.
The empire opened its eyes to find strangers within.
Time became a marketplace of dreams. Wisdom sighed, watching youth rewrite its words.
Storm clouds gathered beyond the mountains again.
The shadow of empire returned from the rising sun.
The modern age arrived, dressed in fire.
Innocence ran faster than history could follow.
Even in ruin, defiance stood upright.
Compassion survived where power could not.
The river remembered centuries of sorrow.
We are still here.
Hope smoldered in the breath of the brave. Words turned again to weapons.
Love refused to surrender to the sound of war.
Belief became rebellion's quiet heart.
Beauty persisted, trembling but unbroken.
From ashes, victory bloomed shyly.
Peace arrived limping, but alive.
The heart of a nation beat again, weary yet proud.
From revolution's storm, unity returned at last.
Labor became the hymn of rebirth.
The land forgave, as it always had.
Tomorrow had found its first voice.
Progress found its rhythm in every hand.
The nation spoke again, now through waves of light.
Connection became the new conquest.
The past blessed the courage of the future. Hope became visible, larger than pain.
The sound of home returned to every ear.
The stars still answered, patient as always.
Memory and mercy shared the same light.
Curiosity never forgot its ancestry. Civilization stood once more, modern yet ancient.
Humanity looked back and finally saw itself.
The next generation inherited both wound and wonder.
The dragon awoke, not to conquer, but to create. The empire's reflection now danced upon electricity.
From dynasty to dream, China's spirit never ceased to rise.
The empire of silk faced its first modern storm.
Trade became war, and profit wore the face of power. The flower of pleasure bloomed into chains.
The past met the future in a storm of smoke.
Dignity surrendered, one seal at a time.
The dragon's roar became a whisper.
A wounded empire still breathed through barter. Faith arrived, dressed as knowledge, carrying both light and shadow.
Religion became rebellion beneath the same heaven.
Salvation and slaughter shared the same song.
Revolution consumed what even faith could not save.
Victory tasted like dust.
Power hid behind curtains of silk and fear.
Beauty lingered, but vision dimmed.
Courtesy became the mask of control. The Middle Kingdom became a crossroads of loss.
Memory wept for the world it once ruled.
Hope rekindled in the quiet of thought.
Ideas became the new weapons of the weak.
A doctor of dreams healed a wounded nation.
Revolution had found its heartbeat.
The dragon shed its skin once more.
The 20th century began in sparks and tears. East met West in a fever of invention.
Elegance survived, even as innocence slipped away. Words again became the refuge of the restless. Shadows on screen mirrored shadows within.
Every generation builds a nation.
Builds a nation from argument.
Discipline marched where ideals once sang.
Unity returned, carved from sacrifice. The century of humiliation had not yet ended.
Time's circle turned, cold and unkind.
The silence of heaven was louder than the guns.
The living became history's footprints.
Resistance became the nation's breath.
Compassion became courage's sister. Hope survives best when unseen.
Unity grew from hunger, not comfort.
The world exhaled. Peace returned in fragments.
The dragon breathed again, scarred yet steadfast.
Unity's shadow is always difference.
The land bled once more for the right to dream.
Ideals became fire, walking on the earth.
Endurance itself became belief.
Hope moved on foot.
The old world burned to light the new.
The people's voice finally became the nation's.
The earth smiled gayed for a moment, united.
History learned to share its throne.
Labor became the new scripture of faith.
The skyline rewrote the shape of power.
Ideology became the empire's heartbeat.
Creation roared again, but the air grew heavy.
Unity demanded more than hearts could bear.
Silence returned being, this time from within.
Faith hid once again beneath soil.
Conviction devoured compassion.
History shivered under its own echo. Knowledge returned, quietly, with forgiveness.
The dragon reached for the stars again.
Dreams became engines of destiny.
Hope had found its machine.
The strength of a nation lies in ordinary hands.
Education became liberation.
The world entered through light and wire.
The rhythm of progress drowned out the drums of war.
Civilization rediscovered its reflection in glass. What once defended, now welcomed. Modernity and memory shared the same canvas.
The land and science learned to speak again.
The dream of heaven returned, now reached by rockets. The myth of flight became truth.
From river to cosmos, the dragon finally saw itself whole.
Humanity itself became the new empire.
Connection replaced conquest.
After a century of storms, the heart learned calm.
Tradition smiled, alive within transformation.
Faith returned, humbled yet eternal.
Culture learned to breathe through circuits. The earth, too, began to heal.
Energy turned from war toward wonder.
The old and new run side by side, never apart.
Modern peace carried the fragrance of home.
Imagination found new temples in technology. Wonder never left, it only changed its height.
The future hummed softly above ancient soil.
Civilization pulsed, awake and aware.
Enlightenment and electricity shared the same dawn.
History sat quietly at the center of change.
Equality whispered its ancient promise again.
Words, like rivers, always return home.
Hope flickered in tired eyes and stayed.
Legacy continued, line by shining line.
The future moved fast, but the land remembered.
The dream of heaven fulfilled its ancient vow. Humanity looked back and saw light, not loss.
Diversity became the empire's new strength.
From shadow to star, China's journey became light eternal. The city became the universe reflected in glass.
Motion itself became the nation's heartbeat.
The future saluted the memory of dawn.
Tradition found a new home inside the signal.
The past rose again, dust glowing like gold.
Every rediscovery was a heartbeat from eternity. Time folded, sound of silk meeting silicon.
The brush and the screen learned the same rhythm.
Faith found silence, even in technology's hum.
Innovation returned to the soil that birthed it.
The sun became the new dynasty. The same wind that brought invaders now powered renewal. Knowledge climbed higher than conquest ever did.
The land breathed again, forgiven and forgiving.
Precision became the new poetry of progress. Architecture remembered its first promise, harmony.
The body moved where language once prayed.
Celebration became the Empire's heartbeat, reborn.
Memory remained the truest form of worship.
The stars listened helling, and the future answered.
History became light, teaching through illusion.
Home had become a constellation of cities.
The dragon's dream had reached the moon.
Language itself joined the stars.
The rhythm of centuries still pulsed beneath progress.
The Silk Road became the Internet of Spirit.
Commerce became communion, once again.
Separation healed itself through steel and will.
Serenity learned to share space with speed.
Balance stood trembling between freedom and order.
Memory softened, yet it never left.
Reflection replaced revolution.
The hand of today met the hand of yesterday. History learned to speak without words.
Education became wonder reborn.
Thought, like spring, always returns.
Discovery no longer belonged to conquerors.
The soul of the nation still traveled by flame.
The ancient rhythm found new tools.
Civilization itself glowed, not as empire, but as idea.
Imagination inherited the Empire's crown.
Unity no longer needed armor, minting only song.
Celebration replaced conquest as history's pulse. Peace found its rhythm again in small things.
Stillness remained, even in motion.
The future learned to hum in ancient.
Nature and technology shared one heartbeat. Civilization became starlight, seen from within.
The old guardians smiled at eternity. From empire to echo, from shadow to light, the journey continues.
Every sunrise remembers the first.
Heritage begins in a single touch.
The breath of ancestors still moves the air.
Sound itself became a bridge to eternity.
Beauty's purpose was never permanence.
The ancient and the modern share the same flame. The river still whispers the name of mankind. Echoes of faith linger beyond faith itself.
Myth was not false. It was memory learning to sing.
Time returned, wearing the body of light.
The ghosts of color learn to walk again.
Motion itself became remembrance.
Even stone learns wonder when touched by sky.
Stars remember what artists forgot.
One prayer joins the breath of a nation.
Silence keeps what power could not.
Peace is the sound of wings returning home.
Creation begins again each morning.
The future, too, learns to remember.
Eternity is motion disguised as stillness.
Words endure longer than the mouths that spoke them.
Language evolves, but the heart beneath remains. Knowledge and faith bow to the same stars.
Humanity's creation, visible from heaven itself.
The old soul learns to live in the new sky.
Sound became memory, polished with time.
Celebration was the oldest form of hope.
Heaven, no longer distant, it resides in perspective. Balance remains the heart of the empire eternal. Even the dead keep watch for peace.
Myth, reborn through human hands.
The sacred still hums beneath the ordinary.
Faith traves the same road as time.
The smallest things carry the weight of the infinite. The stars became our teachers once more. The ocean remembers every journey home.
Forgiveness always travels farther than flight.
Power became stewardship.
Knowledge and imagination finally spoke the same tongue.
Humanity, at last, became its own constellation.
As above, so below. Creation repeats its vow.
History and future tuned to the same key.
One light becomes many, and many become one.
Myth fulfilled its promise. In Timb, eternity wears our face.
Boundaries dissolve when memory learns to shine. The nation is not its rulers, but its rhythm.
Under heaven, all are one.
The pulse of civilization, unchanged, unending.
The past no longer ruled Sijoli. It illuminated.
Tradition and progress walked hand in hand. Even in space, the sound of home endures.
Civilization breathes, a living galaxy of light.
History itself became the ink of heaven.
We are all the echoes of the same beginning.
Memory became celebration, not mourning. The story of Earth continues among the stars.
From river to cosmos, the dragon never ceased to dream.
The earth itself remembers.
From silence, from fire, from light, China remains.
Memory becomes light, and light becomes eternal. Time rests, but the river keeps breathing.
Silence, too, is a language older than words.
Peace begins in the smallest gestures.
The laughter of the present repairs the stones of the past.
Imagination is how history learns to breathe again.
Every harvest is a poem written by patience. Creation and remembrance share the same flame.
The art of eternity hides in the hands of the humble.
Faith endures by being reborn every morning.
Boundaries dissolve when seen from the sky.
Humanity writes new myths upon the firmament.
Morality and modernity hold hands again.
Care itself is a form of prayer. The music of survival plays in every century.
Commerce became connection. Distance became kinship. Exploration fulfills the myth's oldest promise, to ascend.
Every act, however small, becomes eternity's echo.
Words can end wars, Hatri, if spoken with memory.
Monarchy ended, not with thunder, but with breath.
Beauty survives, even where power fades. The body of a nation is carved from light. Existence itself flows, never lost, never found.
Meaning doesn't last. Only feeling does.
Stars came closer to remind us of wonder.
The future always begins with roots.
Heaven and earth share one horizon.
Art remains the bridge between shadow and soul.
Who built the first wall?
The question is,
The new monument.
Legacy is not inheritance, it is participation.
Knowledge bows to mystery, not mastery.
Reflection is history's gentlest form of truth.
Endurance has always been the Empire's secret art.
Peace is simply persistence in stillness.
Freedom, at last, became quiet.
The myth completes its circle among the stars.
Earth itself is the empire of humanity.
The art of remembering is the art of becoming.
When memory lifts, it becomes light.
Every ending flows into beginning.
We were born from shadow, but we were made of light.